You're watching Rogers TV, Brampton.
A detention? I'll call to order the council meeting for the Regional Municipality Appeal for Thursday, January the 22nd, 2015, and would ask that Councillor Downey please recite the prayer.
Grant us, O God, perception and patience that justice, truth, and honesty may be evident in our planning and governing. Make us aware of the needs of each part of this regional municipality. Save us from the parochialism that divides, and so create in us a desire for progress and responsible action. We pray that all our words and deeds may be in accord with thy will to the glory of the holy name. Amen.
All members are present except Councillor Yanika. Councillor McFadden's ill. And Councillor Parrish is absent. I just wanted, I know he's not here, but I just wanted to congratulate on behalf of all members of council, Councillor Yanika, who is the newly elected chair of the Credit Valley Conservation. So I think he'll do an excellent job as chair. I know he's been a member of the board for over 20 years, so it's good for us and good for him. Declarations of conflict of interest, are there any? I'd just like to personally, I don't believe I have a conflict, but just, Councillor Sato, I'll let you go first. Sorry, just saw your name on the board.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to declare a conflict on the in-camera 13.4, which is related to, there's reference to the non-union salaries, and two of my children work for the Region Appeal.
Okay, duly noted. And Councillor Miles?
Yes, I'd like to declare a conflict on the in-camera portion, the same as Councillor Sato. I have a daughter that works in communication services.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on the two in camera. I'm not sure whether it's IC3 or IC 13.3 or 4, but I'll declare it on both of them, Madam Clerk, as I have daughters working for the region. Thank you.
And just as an abundance of caution, I'm going to declare an interest with respect to item 8.8, which is the report of the Peel Police Services Board Nomination Committee. Being a member of the Police Services Board, I didn't participate in the interviews or at the time they interviewed, or I won't participate when they select or appoint, when council appoints the individual that will be our citizen representative. Approval of the minutes. Councillor Fonseca and Councillor Groves. All in favor of the minutes of January the 15th? Opposed, if any? Carried? Thank you. And approval of the agenda. Okay, Councillor Toby, Mayor Thompson, all in favor? Carried. Seeing no delegations, we'll move into Public Works and ask that Councillor Starr chair that portion of the meeting.
A short Public Works report. It's the first one, 6.1, is the authorization to hold a public meeting for an application for exemption on the Retail Business Act for TNT Markets in Mississauga. And I'm advised that the public meeting will be held on March 12th, 2015. Are there any questions? Maybe Councillor Yanika, would you like to move that one? Yes, no? Councillor Yanika, this is in your ward. Would you like to move it? I'm sure I'd be happy. Just checking. Moved by Councillor Yanika, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. And 6.2 is the Traffic and Road Safety Performance Report 2014 for information. If there's any questions or comments. Moved by Councillor Crombie, seconded by Councillor Palashi. All in favor? Carried. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, there's communications.
Oh, I'm sorry, communications. We'll move them all together.
One needs two of them.
Oh, two, yeah.
One's a referral to Public Works, so.
So 7.2 is a referral. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Sprovieri. In favor? And all the others are receipt. Moved by Councillor Palashi, seconded by Councillor Fonseca. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Raz, sorry.
Sorry, back on the communications, item 7.3 with respect to the project update for the waste collection services. I was wondering if it might be helpful, and I don't know if the other new councillors around the table, I would like to go through kind of either a briefing or get some in-depth information on the process that we went through to get to the point where we're at. I've had a lot of complaints already about the waste collection system, so I think there might be an opportunity there to at least educate us on the process that we went through and, you know, the cost savings and the rationale. That would be very helpful so I can defend it when I'm going out in public. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, we could do either. We could do a kind of an update report back to council. Sometimes difficult to get everybody together, so by your leave, just let us know which way you'd like us to do it. Maybe I'd suggest maybe I'll do a bit of a comprehensive briefing note, send it out to you, and then if we need to meet after, we'll do it as required. Is that fair? Okay, we'll take that on.
We will take that as direction.
Yep.
Councillor Miles.
You got
Councillor Miles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I too would appreciate an update on the process. We've been getting calls as well from our constituents, so I think both would be really helpful if we could have a briefing here at council. Because it's televised, it also gives people the opportunity to have a better understanding of the process and the reasons why we are moving in the direction we are.
Councillor Thompson?
I think one of the reasons why we're all getting phone calls is because there was no phone number put on the brochure.
That was intentional.
No, but I mean, on the brochure, we've always had a good contact and extension on if you have any further details, and nothing's like that on the brochure whatsoever.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, that was, I think, I didn't hear who said it, but it was intentional as part of our digital strategy to try to focus people online for the first little bit to see how it goes, and then the second round, they can always get us through Service Peel, which is the general number, but the key was try to get them to the website. And
Why
if we gave them the phone number and people would use the phone number, then we wouldn't have all the same kind of resources at Service Peel to deal with that volume of calls coming in.
Exactly, but the phone calls
Yep.
are coming because people do not have access to internet or are not savvy.
No
And I
problem.
lived a long time.
Yep.
Councillor Groves?
Just for Councillor Gibson here, we do have internet in Paladin.
That was a shot.
But just to follow on Mayor Thompson's comment, I think it's more for the seniors because I've been asked and approached by a lot of our seniors who are not very savvy or may not have access to a computer, and so that's where I was getting the concerns from were the seniors. So a phone number is helpful or will be helpful. Thank you.
So back to Commissioner LeBrecq, I think it'd be probably a good idea that maybe through the real chair that we have maybe a presentation in the next meeting or two. Would that be fair?
Well, we'll do the update memo just as something that you can have with you, and we'll put together a short presentation to kind of bring that back.
And to have it done at council.
And we'll do the presentation at a future council meeting.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Councillor Starr. Oh, you have another one.
I'm sorry?
Another one on the list.
Oh, Councillor Ross.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Councillor Starr. Just one other item. I think it's really come to the forefront in the last couple of days because of the Toronto budget, and if people selected a larger bin, that they would be paying more in taxes. So that has really elevated the issue. So that would need to be addressed in the presentation as well.
Yeah, if I could, both chairs, the Toronto system is on a user pay program, whereas we're not. And so there is no differential in cost whether you pick a small or a large or medium bin, but we'll clarify that in the briefing as well.
Councillor Fonseca.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just with regards to the carts and the cost, in the presentation, can you make sure that it is very clear? One of the concerns was that the deadline is the end of March, and to the point about seniors not necessarily getting the notification because they may be away at this time of the year, or they may not have access to the internet. If they don't apply for a cart or submit for a cart by the end of March, they will be sent a default cart, and if they were to change that, they would have to pay for the cart. Will they have to pay for the cart, and what is the cost of the cart? It's not clear what the cost of the actual carts are if they do have to pay for the cart.
We'll include that in the briefing.
And there was one other question also, if a cart is hit, and I know that it looks like they're very, very durable, but if a cart is hit and they're cracked, who's responsible for paying for the cost of those carts if they have to be replaced? That's another question.
Okay, we'll cover that as well, but it's similar to the blue box. The carts are warrantied. I guess it really comes down to who hit it, you know. But we're not going to leave any resident without carts for 10 years.
Councillor Palashi.
Just with the comment on Toronto, did they start that way, that process, or did they migrate into that?
They had the same program we did for years. When the City of Toronto Act was amended a number of years ago as part of the amalgamation, they were given different powers under that act than we have under the Municipal Act. And that allowed them, as a decision, kind of move the whole waste side into effect a user pay piece. And that's when they did it as part of the amalgamation.
With the report that you're going to present to us, can we just get a comparison between Toronto and the region, pricing-wise, and see where we're at?
As far as the cost of the program?
Yes.
Because they're a user pay to the resident, whereas ours is basically covered by the general tax base, which includes kind of funding from the industrial commercial side as well. So they're two different things, but we can try to provide you some kind of comparison, but they're not, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, just on the program itself, with having a look at what's working and yeah, please, thanks.
I think it's back to you now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And to use Councillor Yannicka's very fulsome discussion.
I would ask that Councillor Fonseca take us through the items related to enterprise programs and services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 8.1 is the update on Peel's financial condition, and this is going to be an oral update by Stephen Van Offweg. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm pleased to provide Council with a brief update on Peel's financial condition. The long-term financial planning strategy applies a disciplined, comprehensive, and integrated approach that identifies and manages risks to the Region of Peel's long-term financial sustainability. A financial model supports the strategy and allows staff to forecast 10-year tax and utility rate impacts. The strategy and model supports Regional Council in its decision-making by providing long-term financial impact of decisions, identifying emerging trends earlier, and understanding how and when decisions will change the organization's financial condition. The strategy is founded on balancing three pillars of sustainability. First, financial sustainability, which is our ability to provide and maintain planned service and infrastructure levels without resorting to unplanned increases in rates or disruptive cuts to service. Second, financial vulnerability, which is the amount in which Peel is dependent on external funding sources that it cannot control. And finally, financial flexibility, which is Peel's ability to change either debt levels or taxes to meet financial obligations. A financial condition scorecard that shows how the Region of Peel is doing against desired states, the risk to those desired states, and if there are any proposed actions or mitigation strategies, is presented to Council annually. As noted on the previous slide, Peel's financial condition is assessed through a number of measures aligned to the financial principles of the strategy. This slide represents the first principle, respect for the taxpayer. Between 2011 and 2014, Peel's annual net levy budget increase averaged 1.6%, keeping Peel's property tax increases affordable. The 2015 budget has been developed to the net levy increase target established by Council in April of 2014. This slide shows 4 financial performance indicators included in the strategy. Starting in the top left corner, as noted in the companion Council report entitled Overview and Update on Status of Reserves, the 2015 budget includes a 1% capital infrastructure levy to address funding requirements for Peel's 10-year supported capital plan. Moving to the top right, the 2015 budget also proposes an additional 3.5% utility rate capital infrastructure levy in each year for the next 6 years to address the 20-year utility rate program capital financing requirements. The 2013 GTA Focus Survey indicates that the majority of Peel residents believe they are receiving value for their tax dollars for Peel services. Finally, moving to the bottom right of the slide, based on the 2015 budget, less than 50% of the proposed 2015 budget is funded from the property tax base, which is in the acceptable range. This slide shows additional areas of measurement and monitoring within the strategy. First, starting at the top left corner again, in 2012, Regional Council directed staff to conduct an annual DC rate adequacy assessment. As indicated in today's Council report, Development Charge Adequacy Update, a DC rate increase of just over 20% would be required to ensure the DC reserve funds remain sustainable. As directed by Council, a new DC bylaw update will be presented to Council for consideration in 2015. Moving to the top right of the slide, as referenced in David's orientation presentation last week, the proportion of non-residential property tax revenue at 38.3% is in the acceptable range. However, the longer-term trend shows a steady decline. Staff have shared results of a recent employment study with area municipalities to help inform any strategies and/or actions to support employment in Peel. Now moving to the bottom right of the slide, rate stabilization reserves provide financial flexibility. Tax-supported rate stabilization reserves are estimated at 16% of total tax-supported expenditures and adequately address current and potential risks. Similar to the previous slide, Peel maintains rate stabilization or utility rate stabilization reserves to manage risks related to the utility rate program. The current balance of 7% is within the target range. Based on Peel's current debt plan, there is sufficient cash on hand to fund Peel's 2015 debt payments of $99.7 million, which is both principal and interest. Further, as shown in the bottom graphic, Peel's current debt payments represent 7.6% of Peel's own source revenues, which is below the annual repayment limit set by the province of 25%. As reported to Council last April, the 2014 Financial Condition Assessment identified several areas of risk and mitigation actions being required. This slide summarizes the actions to be undertaken. As noted earlier in my presentation, today's Council agenda includes reports addressing Peel's long-term capital financing requirements for maintaining a state of good repair and the adequacy of Peel's development charge rates. As reported to Council today in the report entitled Region of Peel 2014 Infrastructure Update, the replacement value of Peel's infrastructure is estimated at $19.3 billion. Overall, Peel's infrastructure is being maintained and is at the desired asset level of service or good. Moving on to Peel's balance sheet. Reserves and debt play an important role in supporting Peel's financial flexibility. Peel's cash reserve balance of $1.8 billion provides necessary liquidity and financial flexibility to fund a sustainable capital plan, to provide flexibility to mitigate volatile risks within tax and utility rate budgets, for example, cushioning the impact of a changing economy, and to support Peel's high-quality credit rating. As reported to Council in September 2013, as part of Peel's comprehensive capital financing strategy, debt is another tool used to maintain financial flexibility by providing upfront cash, which is often referred to as smart debt. Peel issues debt for long-term, sustainable, or substantial assets. To date, Peel's net debt of $1.5 billion is used primarily to cash flow infrastructure requirements to support population and employment growth. As this slide demonstrates, major regional infrastructure, including water and wastewater treatment and distribution systems, as well as arterial roads, is required to be in place to allow new development to occur, and well before development charges are collected. Approximately 17% of the current development charge rate funds debt borrowing costs, and as such, the majority of debt financing costs do not impact the property tax. The long-term financial planning strategy monitors debt and its repayment as key indicators. The province imposes an annual repayment limit, or ARL, on municipalities. This is 25% of net revenues for municipalities. As this slide shows, Peel's current annual repayment limit calculation is estimated at 7.6% and forecasted to rise to about 10% in 2020, which is well below the provincial limit. The region's debt management strategy will be reviewed in conjunction with changes to the DC bylaw process to determine if any actions are required to further enhance the management of debt. This slide provides a comparison of property tax bills for the average 2,000 square foot two-story home. Peel's overall 2014 property tax bill in each municipality is comparable to similar GTA municipalities. As shown on this slide, Peel's water bill is the lowest in the GTA, providing Peel businesses with a competitive edge and Peel residents with low-cost water and wastewater services. Even with the proposed increase in 2015 budget, Peel's water rates will continue to be the lowest. I would like to conclude with the following quote provided by Moody's Investor Services. In April 2013, Peel's Regional Council approved a long-term financial planning strategy, which outlines the financial principles and desired performance outcomes. This demonstrates the region's commitment to long-term planning, which is considered credit positive. In 2014, both Standard & Poor's and Moody's reaffirmed Peel's AAA credit rating. Peel's overall financial condition is healthy. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Seeing no questions on the board, this is to be moved for receipt. Moved by Councillor Starr, seconded by Mayor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. And I'd like to move up items 8.5, 8.6, 8.7. Oh, Stephen, I wanted you to, sorry, can you stay there, please? Those three items are related to the presentation by Stephen. So 8.5 is an overview and update on the status of reserves, and some of that was covered in the presentation. It's to be moved for information. Moved by Councillor Tovey, seconded by Councillor Moore. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Item 8.6 is the Region of Peel 2014 infrastructure update, and this is with a motion. Moved by Councillor Groves, seconded by Councillor Mahoney. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And item 8.7 is the development charge adequacy update for 2015, and this is for information. Moved by Mayor Crombie, seconded by Councillor Parrish. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. No questions so far. Okay, on to item 8.2. This is a review of the governance of the Region of Peel. Councillor Gibson.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to suggest, I like the report and like to support it, but in terms of where the composition of the Region of Peel, I'm going to suggest that the committee start with the Justice Adams report that was done in 2004. That's been the position of the City of Brampton since that time, that Justice Adams got it right. And if the region can't find the report, or Mississauga threw theirs away, we'd be happy to provide them with another copy of that report. One might ask, well, what's changed? What's changed is the population of Brampton has far surpassed the even Justice Adams report at that time. So I'm glad to see that last year Council decided to strike a committee and deal with all three of these things in here. We'd also be happy to provide you with the information that for the new council members, the City of Brampton did a presentation to this council last year, and we'd be happy to again to provide that information for council and the new council members. So I'd be happy to support this report.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Dale, I don't know if you want to add anything to, any comments to that, to the report?
No,
Or Chair Dale, sorry. Chair Dale.
With respect to the comments that were made by Councillor Gibson, we'll provide that and
Okay.
deal with it at the committee level. And it's really established in the committee to look at the process and review it and then report back as to what way we want to actually deal with the governance issue. So we're pleased to make that part of the agenda, Councillor Gibson.
Okay, thank you very much. So moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Medeiros. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried. Item 8.3 is the delegation of tax ratio setting authority. Moved by Councillor Miles, seconded by Councillor Sprovieri. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried. Item 8.4 is the 2014-2015 dedicated provincial gas tax funds. Moved by Mayor Crombie, seconded by Councillor Pleshy. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And on to item 8.8 is the report of the Peel Police Services Board Nominations Ad Hoc Committee meeting held on January 8th. No questions. Moved by Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Gibson. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Item 8.9 is the Budget 2015 proposal in support of land acquisition capacity for public works capital projects. Councillor Yanika.
Happy to move it.
Thank you. Happy to move it just with a comment, maybe something that we'll all consider in the 4 years to come. And by the way, and with great thanks and gratitude, I'm also wearing a different hat today with the honor you've bestowed upon me as the new chair of the CVC. I am going back to that tremendous slide that we showed just a moment ago of how cheap we are relative to water. You know, we have to have a regional council meeting where everybody involved in water and wastewater that works for us comes in here, takes a bow, and we applaud. Because it is what we do better than anything else, better than anybody else. Having said that, I believe, and I've argued this before, we have to seize that as an opportunity to say, you're one half of the rest of the world, so to speak, in terms of value. Can we get you to 2/3 of it, and that money is used to reinforce the advantages that we have? If we need land, if land is becoming available that are the lungs and the streams that service us in urban areas, let's go buy that land at $5,000 an acre and take it from that fund. Timing is also very, very important because, just look around the room, we're getting to the age in the life cycle where at 50, 55, 60, 65, people are sorting out their affairs. A little bit of philanthropy takes over. No, I mean it sincerely. I apologize. I was, but with apologies. Perhaps my freshest conversation on that topic, perhaps with apologies, is I just spent some time with our friends at Trillium Health Services about bequests and things of that sort. So that's the reference I'm making. People are getting to an age in their life, so, you know, they've lived very good lives, want to sort out their affairs. They've got a spare 100 acres that's land that isn't arable, it isn't land that's developable, and they're looking to do something with it. And at $5,000 an acre, to my friends, by the way, in the north, you're not buying it in my community, all sorts of available lands in Caledon and in jurisdictions outside us, but that are the heart, the lungs, and the water that we live and breathe. My point being, and for another day, but it's something we have to look at, if instead of 500 for the average house when everybody else is 1,000, if we end up at 600 for the average house and we've made a legacy for the next generation, I think we have to seize upon that, because instead of putting it on everybody's tax bill, you're paying for water, you're paying for the source to get you more water, and it's what's going to sustain our grandchildren. So I've argued it before, but I'll be arguing it with more vigor in the days to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yanika, and yet congratulations for your appointment as chair of the CVC. And so you can move the report, but there is another speaker, Councillor Sato.
Thank you. Yes, I have a couple of questions. I'm supporting the recommendation in the report, but Dan, I wonder if you could explain you're talking about the 10-year capital plan, and that this is what you're looking at needing staff, which is out of the capital budget. So the cost is attached to the project, correct? Okay. So this is 8 staff that are involved, 3 of which are currently contract that would be going to full-time?
I believe that.
That's correct. Sorry,
Yes, it's 8 staff, three of which exist already, so it's net new 5 staff.
Okay. So what is your projection for the time once those projects are completed? Because the staff are basically being paid for from the capital budget for the project. So let's project, and I can understand why you need them now because of all of these projects. We need the work done. I mean, that's a given. But looking ahead, we're going to have 8 staff people who will at some point no longer be paid for under capital budget and will then revert into operating budget. Is that correct?
I believe we've projected out 10 years, and we see the need over that 10 years. In fact, the need is growing over the 10 years.
Okay.
And we'll have to find further efficiencies to accommodate the workload.
So basically, you're anticipating that for the at least 10 years plus, the cost will not be in the operating budget. It'll be out of, it'll be included in the capital.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe there is also a report that's going to audit that shows that comparison of a full-time staff versus or using outsourced staff, correct?
Yes, it validates the methodology used in this to compare the costs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Seeing no further questions, moved by Councillor Yanika, seconded by Councillor Sato. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried. And item 8.10 is the strategic plan and council priorities renewal. Seeing no questions, moved by, Councillor Sato, yes.
Yeah, sorry, who's handling this one? Sorry, who can answer on this? Okay.
Strategic planning?
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, sorry, no, I was just wondering which commissioner I was looking at. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Lorraine, the community consultation, I think that is vitally important. In the past, a lot of our strategic planning has been done basically with staff-related and council input back from the days when it was originally initiated and worked on at separate sessions with council. So, I mean, we've changed over the years. But I think over the years, we really have not had, I feel, a significant amount of community consultation. And to be very blunt, I mean, the residents in Mississauga really, the majority don't have a clue what the Region of Peel does and what the strategies for the Region of Peel are. And I think we really need to focus on that as we're moving forward. We're in a new term of office, and I think we have an opportunity when we're moving forward on this strategic planning to involve the residents in Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. I think Brampton residents, because the region is located here, might have a little bit better feeling for what goes on at regional council, but Gail's saying no, so we'll look at all three. But I really think that the community consultation in this particular year needs to be really beefed up on the regional strategic plan. And, you know, we're doing a lot of consulting on various projects and planning at the municipalities in Mississauga, and I'm sure Brampton and Caledon are as well. And I think we need to really be able to differentiate what we are doing in planning for the region. I mean, just the whole issue of the waste management, the questions that are coming forward, I mean, that alone is showing us that, you know, the residents, they think the city picks up the garbage. They don't know that the region does it. And when, you know, because their councillor in Mississauga at least, we're both. So they're going to call us anyway. And I think that even more blurs the lines for residents. So I would like to suggest that that staff spend additional time on planning that consultation, and that there be a lot of it, and that it be very meaningful. I think it's a great opportunity for us to educate our citizens. And I'd like to move that direction be given to staff to do that.
Okay, yes. David, did you want to comment? Yes?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with both Councillor Iannica's earlier comments about the rate and Councillor Sato's comments now that the region is the best kept secret in town. And our concern was that if we went out and did consultation without checking with the cities first, we may be doing some duplication.
Oh, yeah.
And it could backfire. So we'll certainly take this direction, but I would really want us to work with the cities on the work that they're doing with the public, so that
absolutely. I wasn't saying don't work with the cities. I'm just saying let's just not do, you know, in the past, I mean, I'll be very blunt, David, in the past, we have done token consultation at the regional level with the citizens. You know, we might hold one meeting in Mississauga, and that's for everyone, and the turnout is pretty abysmal. So what I'm saying is to really beef it up and really try and get out there and get the input.
And what I suggest we do then, through you, Madam Chair, is draw up a consultation plan and bring it back to council just to keep you informed.
That'd be great, thank you.
Of best opportunities to work with the local municipalities.
And on our own when necessary.
Okay, yes. Okay. So Councillor Sato, you'll move that with that direction? Okay, so moved by Councillor Sato, seconded by Councillor Carlson. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried. And back to you, Mr. Chair. Oh, communication, yes, items 9. 9.1 is, I think we can move both of them together. They're for receipt. Moved by Councillor Groves. Oh, a question, Mayor Thompson.
Okay, on 9.1 with the natural heritage system planning, The Peel Federation of Agriculture, along with York Federation of Agriculture, brought a good recommendation coming forward, and it's on land stewardship. And what we're looking at is private partnerships, you know, like the P3s, and conservation needs to work with that. The big thing is conservation, like everything else, are short of money, and they're always looking for it. And and I'll follow up with Councillor Anika's suggestion on land stewardship and you know, acquiring the lands. But until you can do it, and then there's a cost that comes with it. It's just like any capital. You build a new arena, then you need the staff to staff it, right? The big challenge is they do not have the staff or whatever. What I'm saying is there's a lot of good, important natural heritage features that are being managed by property owners, landowners, through the whole watershed, which is the heart and lungs, as Councillor Anika had managed. We need to develop partnerships because it doesn't cost you anything, and they're the ones. The only reason why we have it is because they've taken care of it since the land has been occupied by Canadians today. And I think we need to do is we do partnerships, same as the Bolton Camp, the Albion Hills partnerships that we have up there, the EMG. But I think we need to do is work with it. And it's the same message going back, and I think CVC, Nando, or Councillor Anika, you've heard me talk about this. And it didn't get mentioned in the letter. And I know they said, yes, that's true, and we need to mention it. I understand for developable, absolutely. But there's a lot of this land that's going to be protected forever. And the ones that know it is the ones that have the indigenous knowledge of that land to take care of it. So let's establish a partnership with them. And that didn't get mentioned in the letter. So I just want to go on record that it is a concern that I think we need to emphasize. And as councillors that we all sit on conservation authorities, I think it's something that's very important.
And the councillors that are on representing Peel on the conservation authorities can bring that message back both to TRCA and to CBC. Okay, so Mayor Thompson, would you,
yes.
Did I have somebody else move communications? I can't remember now. Mayor Thompson, and I think I said Councillor Carlson, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Moves us to bylaws. The first one's bylaw 3-2015. It's the, do we read it?
Just the short reading?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That the bylaws listed on the regional council agenda, I should ask, moved by Councillor Anika and seconded by Councillor Innes, that the bylaws listed on the regional council agenda being bylaws 3-2015 to 5-2015 inclusive be given the required number of readings, taken as read, signed by the regional chair and the regional clerk, and the corporate seal be affixed thereto. Any comments or discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Other business, I just wanted to mention that the Fluoride Committee will be scheduled to meet on February the 5th at 8:30 a.m. And the agenda of the draft terms of reference will be distributed on January the 29th. Councillor Anika.
And thank you. My other business is, some of you may were down in my neck of the woods. We had our third meeting with regards to a local improvement in the Gordon Woods yesterday that went quite well. I really have to thank Mark Schiller and his staff. They've done an amazing job of explaining our policy and the provincial policy, but there's still some people that are concerned with the implementation and the program as a whole. We received a petition yesterday at the meeting, so I wanted to refer this petition to staff, but perhaps as opposed to the normal format, because it's not really a petition for the local improvement. It argues against our policy. So I think the more appropriate thing might be to receive the petition and through our staff, and I'd be happy to assist, to write an appropriate letter that's more explanatory of how the policy truly works. We had a remarkable set of circumstances last night where people down the line with the sewer system who use the local improvement said, you people can't do the same thing. Well, you're already on the line and you use the same, well, we don't want it in the community anymore. Well, it's a little hypocritical to argue against it when you, and then others that live in other subdivisions altogether saying, well, we don't like this idea, even though we're on the sewer. And there I am saying, can we have some ethics and some other than hypocrisy ruling your opinions on it. And I just don't think it's been explained well. So other than just receiving the petition, I think a properly worded letter for the community that I'd be happy to distribute over the appropriate authorities here from the Region Appeal be crafted, as opposed to we've received it and it's not a petition. I don't want to get back into that war. I think a little bit more explanation is warranted, and I want to be part of that solution. So with that, I present the petition to the clerk, and if that process could follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sprovieri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just received a memo from the Clerk's Department and on the Fluoridation Committee, and I believe that Councillor Mahoney and Medeiros had volunteered to be on the committee, but they're not listed on the memo that was sent to us from Jennifer Swart.
We'll amend that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Just move us, I guess, in camera. If someone like to move a motion to move us in camera, Councillor Palashi, seconded by, oh, sorry, Councillor Sato, before we move in.
Thank you. Yes, before we move in, Mr. Chairman, I had declared my conflict on 13.4, and I just realized 13.3 also has a mention of non-unions, so.
The clerk's included that. but
Did you?
yeah,
Thank you.
the vote,
She's so
yeah.
good for us. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks. So we'll move into camera. A motion. Oh, Councillor Yanika.
One more minor point, but just in the sake of transparency, anybody getting the normal agenda would have seen 13.2 that reads Regional Council Closed Session Report. I really don't know what that means. That means they wouldn't. Could somebody just flesh out what that would refer to?
That's the minutes from the previous meeting.
And so report with regards to the minutes,
Yes.
so that everybody's clear what we're going in camera for. Thank you.
So a motion moved by Councillor Yanika, seconded by Councillor Tovey, that we move in camera. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
The injuries or got injured as you're doing this?
Years ago in Maple Leaf Gardens, I went out to shoot Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers were in town.
Okay.
So I said, well, I'll go out and get some pictures of the Oilers. So I was standing behind the glass, and it's pretty high glass, and I'm standing there taking pictures of the warm-up. The players used to practice shooting the puck around the boards.
Yeah.
Because different arenas had different boards.
Yeah.
So I'm busy shooting, and I believe it was Gretzky was shooting it around the glass, and it went a little bit too far over.
Okay.
Along the top, came down, hit me right between the eyes. There was blood all over the place.
Oh, no.
So they whipped me off to the clinic in Maple Leaf Gardens.
Okay.
I didn't even get the puck. Some little kid grabbed it off.
And you've probably seen other people get injured. I mean, the glass used to be a lot shorter than it is now, so people in the expensive seats used to be kind of in jeopardy a little bit.
Well, the glass was low enough that a player could reach over and sign autographs.
Wow.
It was crazy. I mean, if you're sitting in that front row, you really had to watch the game.
Okay. Cool. Okay, and we're going to have some photos flashing up on the screen as we talk about this. You've got a great book out. It's been out for how long?
It came out last September.
Okay, last September. It's called Welcome to Maple Leaf Gardens. It's a fantastic look through some of your photos, some of the great stories you and Lance Hornsby have written in here. Stories about all the way back in the Ballard days through to the 90s with Gilmore and Clark, all the way up to today. So, and you've got more than just hockey photos, although there is some great hockey photos. There's stuff like Harold Ballard here with his dog. I know you have a good story. You got to tell me this story. There's a shot here of you taking the team photo, and tell me about this, because it's just got a dog in the picture.
Yeah, that was in the days that Ballard, it was his show down there. He could do anything he wanted.
Sure.
He ran the team, and he owned the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Right.
So he called the dog TC Puck.
Okay.
For Tiger Cat, anyway. So he took the dog out for a team picture.
Yeah.
Well, they just flooded the ice, and it was a little bit damp, very cold. Dog goes out and sits on the ice. Male dog goes out and sits on the ice, and it lasted a couple of minutes, and the dog got a little anxious to get up. Well, I think the dog did get stuck where you really
Where a male dog does not
don't
want
want to
to
get stuck.
Get stuck to the ice.
Yeah. So the team picture was over shortly after that.
Okay, there's great stories like that in this book. It's fantastic. I'm just going to flip through a couple of photos. I know it'd be a little bit difficult to see. We'll just show these ones just for a few minutes, and we'll flip back to the ones on the screen. There's great shots here of Gilmore and Clark through the 90s. That must have been an exciting time because they were doing so well.
92, 93 season, that's the best I've seen.
Highlight, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and those guys were great, made great photos too.
Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
probably got some incredible stuff. And you've got, even if I flip through here, you've got photos of the greats of the game, like Wayne Gretzky, those kind of things, Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, there was a Canada Cup held in Maple Leaf Gardens.
Right.
So I got to shoot some of those games. Not all of them, but I got to shoot some of them.
That must have been a rocking place when the fans were...
So many great players on a team and the fans going nuts.
Oh, I bet. You've done concerts? You've done a lot of concerts?
Yeah, I shot concerts for Chum Radio for 2 years.
Amazing. See, we're seeing ZZ Top, Queen. I know there's a whole bunch more photos in here of concerts. Incredible. And those are difficult because you only get to stand at a concert up in the front for a little while, right?
2 songs, that's it.
Yeah,
they usher you in, 2 songs, they usher you out. And usually in the first song, they don't have any bright lights on. It's a blue light or a red light, just a mood sort of getting the mood set for the concert. So usually the first song, you just stood there waiting.
Right.
And then some lights would come on for the second song. You just fire away as fast as you could, get as many pictures as you could, and then out you went.
Are you saying you can't use lights at the concert, or you can't use
You
the
can't
light?
you can't use strobes.
So
You got to
it's
use
really-
available light.
And that can be really contrasty stuff with the performer in bright spotlight, and then everything else in black. So you really have to know your camera and your settings. And
these were all in film days, so
wow.
You couldn't look in the back of your camera and say, well, that's not right and that's not right. You were just, you shoot it, hope for the best, and...
So like everybody, you must think it's so much easier, the digital world.
You can shoot and shoot and shoot, and you can correct your pictures as you go along.
Right.
It's much easier with looking at your pictures.
Yeah.
It gets a lot harder when you have to file pictures.
Okay, because it's not in a file drawer, it's on a computer, you have to...
Name it.
Things can crash as well, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you must have an enormous library of photos that you've
About 600,000 that I already have cataloged.
Wow.
The game number, concert date, player name.
Do players ever contact you that, play back in the day and they want a photo?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
A lot of these players never had any photos of themselves, like were given to them or they bought or anything. They never thought about it when they were playing.
Yeah.
And
they want to show their grandkids now or something.
Well, even their kids. Some of the guys said, my kids never saw me play hockey.
Wow.
So
incredible.
they get a hold of me and they buy a bunch.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so we've seen concert photos. We also have stuff like professional wrestling back in the Hulk Hogan days. That how close were you to the ring at this point?
We're standing right beside it.
Really?
One of the directors of Maple Leafs at the time, Maple Leaf Gardens, asked me to come down and shoot the wrestling because he wanted his grandkid, his picture taken with Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
I said, okay, I'll come down and do that. So I did about 2 or 3 wrestling events. Every time we did it, his kid came down and grandkid came down, got his picture taken.
That must have been so different than filming a concert or even a Leaf game.
Yeah, it's just a little crazy.
Cool. Any boxing events, or there probably hasn't been boxing in Maple Leaf Gardens for a long time? Yeah.
I did do a shoot for Boxing Ontario.
Okay.
Last year with one of the hotels, they had the Ontario Championships.
Yep.
That was the first time I ever shot boxing.
Okay.
And it's a lot more difficult than you think.
In what way?
The boxers are close.
Yep.
But they also have their backs to you.
Right.
And they get crouched down.
Yep.
And you're sitting there and you don't have a picture. I mean,
right.
So you got to wait till they kind of spread out a bit.
Yep. Okay.
It's a tough sport to shoot.
Yeah, sure. And you're really down low, probably looking up.
Looking up at him, right in the little corner. And
right. Okay. I imagine, if you're shooting the Leafs or the Marlies or Rock, whatever, and they're doing well, it's an exciting game. It must be tough to concentrate on getting that right shot when things are going crazy around you, the fans are screaming and everything.
I've been a Leaf fan since I was a little tiny guy, sitting in front of the TV, watching the games and writing all their names down and everything. Now I'm sitting at a Leaf game, and if they're doing well or they're doing bad, either way, I've got to, bite my tongue, sit there, and I can't cheer until I get home.
Right.
If I start cheering and, I missed the picture.
Right.
So you've got to sit there and you got to watch
Right.
and watch and shoot.
Yeah.
Even the celebration after a goal, you have to make sure you get the celebration.
Right.
Because there's a few pictures in the book about celebration shots.
Yeah, you said there was one that you were telling me that it's people were just about to jump up when there was a famous goal scored.
Well, that was Doug Gilmore's wraparound goal,
Yep.
second overtime period. I talked to the people in front of me and I said, please do me a favor.
Right.
Sit down, don't get up. I'll let you know when to get up, and if I get the picture, I'll give you a copy of it.
Okay.
So the guy, yeah, sure, no problem. So
Okay.
as soon as I got the picture, I tapped him on the shoulder and up his arms went, and that was the end of shooting that celebration.
Okay, but that was nice of them to do that for
It
you.
was.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any favorite players that you, over the years, that you like to photograph